Hey, everybody, welcome to Cruise Control, your on air automotive magazine. You know us. I'm Les Jackson. The guy with that big pile of papers over there is Fred Staab. And I think there's a reason for all those papers, Fred.
Yes, there is, Les. We've got a lot going on in the auto industry, and we're starting with this story. Well, everything goes in a big circle.
Yep.
One type of vehicle is making a big comeback, and we bet you never thought it would happen. I thought it might happen, but it looks like it might be happening now. We'll tell you why.
Which that's I'm looking forward to it. And Dodge cuts the Dodge Daytona from its lineup. We were sort of afraid of that. And Ram delays one model to 2028.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll talk about that. And then Toyota reveals a trio of electric vehicles, and we will talk about them. Some of them are renamed. Some of them get the off-road treatment, and one is a model that was around. It was a bit of a strange model. Now it comes back as an electric crossover. So we'll
Well,
talk about that.
I love the fact that names come back. And not this one, though. GMC's Hummer EV gets updated for 2026. I've never been a fan of the Hummer, but
No,
that's okay.
and of course, crab walking is the big thing that this vehicle
Uh,
does.
yeah, well,
Rear
there's
steering.
there's that Range Rover-ish front end too that
Yeah, it's
I
uh,
don't know.
it's big. It's big
It's
for
big.
sure, for
It's
sure.
big.
And then Aston Martin shows their DBX S, which is a little hard to say, but
It is.
that is their crossover, and they have a very sporty version of it. We're going to take a look at it, and hey, if it's Aston Martin, it's got to be good, right?
Listen, it's if it's Aston Martin, it's okay with me. I love them.
Right?
And GM shares a battery breakthrough. This is always interesting.
Yes, very interesting, and batteries are going to get smaller and lighter
Yep.
and have higher energy densities. So we'll talk about that. And which vehicles get driven the most and the least? Kind of an interesting study from IC Cars. We'll
Yeah.
take a look at that. I don't know what do you think? Some of the vehicles that get driven the least.
Well, I think big SUVs get driven the least.
No, actually, it's absolutely the opposite. And
Wow.
I'll give you a hint. It's a vehicle that I've mentioned I don't like, but most automotive journalists really love it. There's
Ah.
so,
uh,
and it's the quite the opposite of a big SUV,
wow.
and it's
So,
sporty.
uh,
So,
well, of
so
course, sporty as opposed to sports car.
yes, exactly, exactly.
All
So,
right.
well, let's get started with our first story, Les. What do you think? What group of vehicles? What type of vehicles um, that was popular and then had a downfall and became like forgotten fruit that people didn't want to eat.
Well, of
That's it.
course,
Yeah,
the
and but
first,
but we always said that this is probably the best family type of family vehicle.
the station wagon, of course,
Well, sort of the
or the
modern
minivan,
version.
or the
The
minivan,
minivan. The
which is the
minivan.
modern station wagon.
Yes, it is the minivan. The minivan is making a surprising comeback
Wow.
in this year, and in particular, the Kia Carnival. Now, what's interesting about the Carnival is it is a minivan designed to look like kind of like the Telluride
It
SUV.
looks, yeah, it looks a lot like the Telluride when you put them together. And I happen to have, there were two of them next to each other when I picked up my K5. And honestly, I thought they were both Tellurides.
Right. I mean, the
Yeah.
giveaway is the two door handles next to
Right.
each other because the rear doors do slide. But look at some of these numbers. It is up. Sales are up 60% year to date compared to the
Wow.
same period in 2024. A massive April helped fuel the surge, with Carnival sales jumping 87% over April of last year. This is like Telluride 2 for Kia. This is a
Yeah.
big seller. Um,
Monstrous seller. Now, well, we have to figure out what is driving this, not
well,
who is driving it, but uh,
I have some theories on that. Another big seller is the Toyota Sienna. These are all hybrid models, and this got a refresh. Those sales are up outstandingly as well. And what they say this is due to, the Jessica Caldwell, who works for Edmunds and has is the insights manager of insights for Edmunds. She said that basically Sienna had a 54% boost in sales. And kind of what this has to do with is tariffs and pricing. Minivans cost less than large SUVs, although
true.
they're not cheap, but they are less expensive. And people, as you said, put so well last week, people are kind of pulling in their horns when it comes to buying things, and they're looking for value. And
And and
minivans offer that.
practicality.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
every time there's an economic downturn or fear of one, people always aim for instead of gadgets and gewgaws, whatever that term is, they go after practicality. I'll pay the money, but everything in it has to be really, really useful.
Well, a minivan is a family tool, a family hauler tool.
Absolutely.
And
It's
you
the
and I like them.
well,
And we
they're
don't have big families.
and no, and we've driven them many times on trips. I always preferred them on taking them on trips
They're a
because they're
comfortable drive.
so comfortable. They're so smooth. You can carry a horse in one of them.
Yeah, I've
Um,
loaded them up with all sorts of things.
oh yeah, we brought back we brought back. Remember, I brought back the cast iron stove and a roll top desk some
I had a
years ago.
giant snowblower in one. Yeah.
It's just you can't do that with anything else.
No. And they are comfortable and they're easy to get in and
Yep.
out of. So if you're
Yep.
hauling people places, they have remote controlled doors. And of
Yeah.
course, they're hybrids now. So one of the knocks on them used to be they got 20 miles to the gallon, but now they're getting 33 miles to the gallon on the
Which
highway.
is which is one. That's plenty. I mean, really. Um, uh, I just think people are recognizing. It's kind of the automotive equivalent of the homely girl in school, but now that everyone's graduated a few years later, suddenly you realize she's just lovely. Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. Okay. I mean, but
Yeah.
what about is it a stroke of genius from Kia making a
Well, that's
minivan look like an
I
SUV?
I don't think it's a stroke of luck. They sell these around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and people around the world, in other countries are generally much more practical than we are. And I think their biggest problem is, uh-oh, the sales are cranking up. We're going to have to divert a bunch of these from other shipping areas and until we can crank up the factories. Wouldn't you like to be the product manager for these?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Your bonus.
I remember talking to people that were moving out of New York City They had a couple of young kids, and they're saying to me, whatever we do, we're not buying a minivan. And
Yep.
I said, why? Why do you say that? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, we don't want to have a minivan. And I said, why?
Yes, you do.
It's kind of what you need. You can easily load kids into uh, child seats and unload stuff easily from the sliding side doors. It seems like it's the
Yeah.
ideal thing. And there was the stereotype that they just didn't want to.
It was it was a stereotype. Largely, women that I talked to said, "Well, I just don't want that image of me with the minivan. Like, I'm the housewife, the dreary, the old
So I'll get the F three
1950s
fifty
image."
dually
Right,
instead.
right. And
It's
but if you
bizarre.
think about it, they're so practical. The dog can easily jump
Yeah,
in. You don't have
yeah,
to.
low floor height. Yeah,
Yeah. So this is wonderful. This is this is a precursor of the station wagon invasion, Fred. I'm telling you,
it's about to happen.
it's. I'm telling you, and the
Okay.
sedans, and the sedans.
Do you think the trend continues? Let's say tariffs are worked out, and I mean prices are not going to go down. We're not going to go from $80,000
No,
three-row SUVs and knock them down to 50. But do you think this trend will continue?
I do. I
Okay.
do because the first guy on the block gets this, and his neighbors see it. Hey, I think I'm going to get one of those,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it
Exactly.
just cascades.
I often likened it to saying, I need a ratchet and sockets, but there's a stigma against that, so I'll use a hammer instead.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I don't know. Well, what do you think? What we'd ask our audience this: what do you think? Minivans coming back? Is there still a minivan stigma, or if you really, really needed one to haul people around or haul things around? By the way, another thing that people use these for: if you have a hybrid Sienna or a hybrid Kia or Pacifica, they make great Uber vehicles if you want to do Uber driving on
They
your off
sure
time
do.
because
Yeah,
you can pick people up at the airport. You got tons of room for luggage, and you're getting decent mileage too, great mileage. So
yeah,
they're very
and
popular for that.
they very popular. You don't have to drive around in a Prius if you're an Uber driver.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I, I can't say that I'm surprised that this has happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't see it coming,
Okay.
but I'm glad.
All right. Well, let's move over to Dodge. Now, Dodge, of course, brought out the new Charger, and the
Yeah.
Daytona is sort of the base model, if you will, of that electric power.
Hmm.
But it has been a terrible seller. Matter of fact,
Oh,
some have gone for half the MSRP. Terrible.
okay. That's not profitable. This-
You
I'm
don't
not
need to
an
gain access
economist.
to the Stellantis books to know
That's
that's
right.
not profitable.
Well, they have sold only 1,947
Wow.
this year, and we're in May,
Right.
so that ain't good.
No. So the other problem is it's built in Canada, and that means
Yeah,
tariffs. Right now, that
yeah,
situation might get worked out, but
yeah.
his Car Scoop spoke to a Dodge spokesperson who confirmed the Charger Daytona RT will be killed off for the 2026 model year, although the word used was postponed, so it could return. But I have a feeling these
Hmm.
electric versions of this car will just kind of fade away as the gas versions come in.
Well, it would appear that the the Brotherhood of Muscle.
Do you
Uh,
belong to that? I think you have a
I
Brotherhood of
used
Muscle
to.
card.
I used to, obviously. Uh, but it just, even though these electric Daytonas can outrun their Hemi Daytonas,
Right.
it doesn't matter. You gotta have the throaty exhaust. You gotta have the vibration. You gotta have the stuff
Right.
that makes you macho in that regard.
Yeah, the look of the car, the body shape itself is fine. I think
Yeah, yeah.
it's a nice update. Um, so Hurricane, they're going to push these forward. The six-pack,
Yep.
six-cylinder Hurricanes, they range from 420 to 550 horsepower and 469 to 521 pound-feet of torque. There'll also be a four-door, which they say will head for the police use pursuit versions. Do we see it return? I don't know. I don't think it's a priority, frankly, to return. I think we will see a Hemi back in this
Um, I think you're right.
at some point.
As
You
an aside, I probably shouldn't mention it, but
know.
I have a friend, woman friend, known for years, and she had a boyfriend that they were going together for, I don't know, 6 months or so. And she broke up with, he bought a used Hellcat, and she broke up with him because she couldn't stand the noise, and well, he didn't care.
He's
And
like, I'll take the car.
I don't get involved in people's relationships, but uh, there were probably other issues, and this was kind of the last straw.
Used Hellcat. That hasn't been abused.
Yeah, well, that's got plenty of noise,
Yeah,
but
hey, I I think they will, as I said, bring the Hemi back in a
I
real
think you're
top of the
right.
line model, whatever the next version of the Hellcat will be. Um, I think it will be maybe a hybrid, with tremendous power, over 1,000
Right,
horsepower.
right, and the right sounds, uh, the right Easter eggs that turn on
Yeah.
the traditional, well, the brotherhood of muscle, as they say, which
Yes.
is, it's a
Yes.
great term.
Yeah. So, but they'll get past the Windsor assembly plant in Canada situation. I think that will
Sure,
be
they will. They will.
eventually cleared up. We'll have to see. But another interesting story from Stellantis and Ram. The Ram Charger. Now, the Ram Charger is an extended range electric vehicle, meaning
Hmm.
the Pentastar V6 charges the battery, and you can tow with it. You can get tremendous range with it. I've seen the chassis for this thing and got a good explanation on it. It seems incredible. And I guess Stellantis still thinks it seems incredible, but they've delayed it to 2028. The 2028 model year
Wow.
coming out in the summer of 2027. That is
Okay. Now that's only 2 years away, but still,
sounds further away than it is,
it's
doesn't
always sounds further away. But
it?
now this means, well, what does this mean? Does this mean that there are technical delays? I don't think so. I think this is a marketing decision.
Well,
Um,
I'll give you a
that
little bit of it on it. I mean, I think they do want to get it right because it is a sea change vehicle and it is the first of its kind in a full size truck.
that's right. That's right.
But also, they're saying that if the $7,500 tax credit goes away, this will be a $100,000 truck.
Yeah.
Sales of electric vehicles are not great. Electric full-size pickup trucks are not great. So why chance it? Why chance a bad launch as happened so many times in the automotive industry, with a vehicle that might not be ready, the technology might not be ready, and um, that there are going to be $100,000 price tag on this. So I think they're holding back because they feel this will be a hit, but is the time right for it? Now, 2028 sounds far off, but oddly, it's not.
It seems to go all too quickly.
Yes. Beautiful truck, great concept. They're talking about massive towing capability, massive range. I think
Oh
with the
yeah.
600-mile range. And once again, the V6 engine just runs and generates power. So it's sort of like they call it an endless battery, but it's not endless, obviously, if you
Well,
run
it's
out of
essentially,
gas.
yeah. I mean, you have, if you have a home generator,
Yeah.
it has a gas, usually natural gas engine.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you pump gas in it, it runs. It'll run for years.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is the four-wheel equivalent, and I think it's wonderful technology. It's actually very old technology.
Mm-hmm. And they've done a better job of explaining it than GM did with the
Oh
Volt.
boy.
GM
You
couldn't
know,
explain it. And I don't think they ever explained it correctly.
no, they
But
never did. They
yeah,
never did.
it's like it's just like you said. It's like a home generator, but instead of taking the output of the generator and running it into your panel, you're running it through a battery first,
Yeah. Right.
right? And you're
Right.
pulling like I've worked in television facilities. That's the way they do it. So the battery acts like the buffer. It's always got power, and you're not pulling off the generator that can go up and down, and
That's right. That
you're getting steady power from the battery, but the battery on the other side is being fed and topped
yeah.
off.
And
And
the engine is not moving the vehicle. It's not mechanically coupled to the
there's no
vehicle.
drive shaft, no transmission.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. Cool chassis. We got a piece coming up on our YouTube page about it. Air ride suspension all around, independent suspension all around. It's pretty slick. I think it's a great idea, and I could see that used there. For towing, it'd be great for motorhomes and things like that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we will talk
Also
more.
for buses and long range trucks.
Oh yeah, delivery trucks. I mean, you're not going to
Yeah.
run out. You just have to fuel up like you normally do, but it
Yeah.
takes away one of the big problems of electric vehicles. So, um, I hope they do bring it out. The price is huge, but yeah, you're getting an engine. You're
I
buying
can
both an
see,
electric vehicle and a gas powered
yeah, I
vehicle.
can see Ford and Toyota and Chevy converting their straight batteries to the same thing.
Well, it's interesting. Nissan is one that really wants to bypass hybrids and go to these extended range
Yeah,
electric vehicles. They call them EREVs. So if you hear that term EREV, that's what it's about. They want to go to that, and I think it's a great idea. Some people might say, oh, well, it should be all electric. Once again, as we've said many times on Cruise Control, the future is multifaceted. It
that's
could
right.
be efficient gas engines, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, hydrogen power fuel cells, full electrics, extended range electrics. It's anything like
And
that.
and room for major changes in battery technology.
Yes. Well, while you say that, Les, I like a great segue.
There you are.
I'm going to segue right into this. Uh,
Perfect.
this is a talking tech segment. GM and LG. They've been working together for a while now, and sometimes they've had some problems. LG had some problems with the Volt batteries, but they've changed it up a bit. They're talking about LMR battery cell technology, and this looks like a battery about the size of a folded laptop, doesn't it?
Yes, it looks like a square laptop.
Yes. So GM wants to be the first automaker to deploy these LMR batteries. And let's delve into it. This is a joint venture between GM and LG. And these are LMR prismatic cell battery
Right.
cells. They want to
Lithium
start.
manganese cells.
And the big part about these is it uses more manganese than some of the other things like cobalt and nickel, which are harder to come by. Manganese is easier to come by and it is more affordable. And the downside of that is it also, or the plus side of it, I should say, is it also delivers greater capacity and energy density. So you're getting a battery that's lighter and less expensive to build, which means hopefully that is passed on to the consumer, right, Les?
That is right. It's 33% higher energy density, which is incredible. And um, so, because it's small, you can hook a whole bunch of them together,
Right.
and so you might have the same size of a vehicle battery pack, but it doesn't weigh as much,
And you go further.
uh, and you go much, much, much further. This is, these people have put an awful lot of money into this, but it's been well spent.
Yeah. I think there's other applications for this too. Backup battery systems for your home. Imagine, you could stack a whole bunch of these up and it'd be this smaller than a refrigerator, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a stack of these on your solar collectors for your house?
Oh, yeah. It would be great. It would be great. Well, this technology will probably begin production in the U.S. by 2028. Who knows? That might be brought up sooner too because they're looking for moving
Yeah,
all kinds of work into the U.S. Exciting times. And, the other thing this could do, if you have a plug in hybrid, you might only need a couple of these small
yeah,
batteries, and you get
like
a
a
couple hundred miles of range
like
just
a
from that.
suitcase,
Yeah, it's like a
like a
suitcase.
briefcase.
Yes.
Um, yeah, the next step, I'm not saying this particular technology, but something I've been reading up on in my physics um, periodicals. The Chinese have just successfully made a battery which is self-powered by radioactive decay,
Oh, wow.
and they work. They have a 50-year life.
Wow.
It is not dangerous radiation. It's alpha. Well, it's not lethal. Let's put it
Okay.
that way. Um, it's alpha radiation as opposed to gamma. But uh, these are working, and they're testing them for everything you test for heat and so on. But they are now coming off the laboratory bench and into practical testing. So this is the future of battery technology. If you once you get this going,
Mm-hmm.
it's unlimited. It's just wonderful. And by the way, a 1 kilowatt battery that they're testing is the size of your cell phone.
Oh, my gosh.
It's yeah.
So these could be
Uh,
deployed everywhere. I mean, you
oh,
that is
absolutely.
your
Well, in
battery
fact,
backup for a house.
right. Or yes, and they started developing them for cell phones, thinking, if we could do that, we'd have an unlimited life for cell phones. But then they decided, well, nobody keeps their cell phones for for more than 3 or 4 years, so
That's
let's
true.
develop something with much much greater uh, market.
Yeah, that's so true. You think about it, you would basically get a cell phone you never have to charge. It's just
Exactly. Yeah, you never have to charge these things. That's you bring up a very important thing. It's not perpetual motion, but it's close to it.
So you could theoretically have an electric car that you never have to charge
Right. Yes. Right.
over, let's say, 20
50
years.
years.
50.
50 years.
I have to go charge my car. It's
Yeah.
50 years old.
And all of the space agencies uh, want them
Sure.
to develop these things, because what's better for your power in space than that?
Yeah, exactly. You don't need solar cells because you're not charging it.
No,
Uh,
it just is there.
yeah. Wow. That blows my mind. That is a talking tech, Les Jackson.
Yeah, I'll get more information on that, and we'll do a talking tech
And some
at a later
samples.
show.
Yeah, you run your whole
I
house off of
don't
a cell
think they're
phone
going to
battery.
send me a sample, but I can always ask.
Well, let's go over to Toyota. They might send us some samples of these eventually to at least drive.
Well, sure.
Couple of things this week, and they're all electric from Toyota. Remember the BZ4X?
Oh, yes, the name, no one understands why it's called that.
They have renamed it. It is now the Toyota BZ.
See, that simple, easy to remember.
Yeah, a lot easier to remember. And a lot of upgrades here, up to 314 miles of range in the XLE front-wheel drive plus model, which is a 25% increase
Yeah.
over the outgoing model, which just had 252 miles. Now, if we can increase that in one model year, you talk about these batteries and things like that. Imagine the battery could be the size of the CPU for the car.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. But let's talk about this BZ, which is just came out. It now is equipped with the North American Charging System port for access to thousands of DC fast charging stations. And will also have the convenience of plug and charge capability. This is a big technology that is coming to many electric cars, where you just kind of pull in, you plug it in, and your financial data and account data is in the car, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to get out and put your credit card in, which is great because it seems like
To which I say it's about time.
Yes.
I mean, really, don't you think we should have been doing this for 3 or 4 years?
I also think that I've encountered a lot of broken chargers, and a lot of times it is the panel to start it, or the credit card reader, or something like that. So if you simplify it, and it's just a pole with a wire on it, I mean, that just starts charging. I think it's going to be better. I think there are going to be less failures.
And less expensive to make.
Yes. Jumping back to the BZ, so up to 50% more horsepower with 338 combined system net horsepower on all-wheel drive models, up from 214. It gets a restyled exterior with front-end design changes to the fascia and lighting, and newly available color-matched over fenders for a sleeker look. That over fenders would be cladding. Remember cladding?
Oh yes.
So color-matched cladding.
Remember it so well.
It does look good. A new instrument panel designed with larger 14-inch Toyota audio multimedia touchscreen and customizable ambient lighting, and available in XLE and limited grades, both in a choice of front or all-wheel drive. You get 2 battery choices for 2026. The BZ includes a 57.7 kilowatt hour and a 74.7 kilowatt hour. And as I said, for the front-wheel drive XLE, it's 314 miles of range, for the limited front wheel drive, 299 miles of range. All wheel drive XLE, 288, and limited all
Yep.
wheel drive, 278. The base model gets 236 miles of range. A lot of Uber drivers were using these, and the original version was not that great for it. I don't really know why they were until I told you there are some people that use Ubers that will only ride in electric vehicles, but I don't think this was
Well,
the one. The original
yeah.
version of the BZ4X was the best because it charged slow and had a short range. It wasn't the ideal
I'll
car for
tell
that.
you what also the BZ has, which now that it's getting into summer, it doesn't seem to matter. But in the winter, it has a heat pump for heating and air conditioning, and it's
Instant heat, instant heat. I would imagine it would be a big thing.
that's
And
very attractive.
yes, my
You know,
wife would like that very much. She said that's the nice thing about certain electric cars, instant heat. So,
yeah, yeah. It's all the ones we've tested. Our wives say, "Boy, is that nice! Just get in it, and it
and
warms
turn it
up."
on.
And of course, we're turning on the electric heated steering wheel
Yes.
because we're wimps.
Well, or we don't like cold hands. But
Yeah.
now, Toyota not only released the BZ, but they released the BZ Woodland, which obviously the over fenders are not color keyed on this one.
Right.
This, believe it or not, this is a kind of off-roady version of the BZ. We have seen this trend. There are
Boy,
XRT Hyundais that have this kind of off-roady treatment. I actually like the look of the vehicle from this angle. It looks like a
it's
station wagon.
well, it does. The side cladding over the wheels is pretty dramatic, but still, um, it
I
looks, yeah.
I believe this is the Toyota version of the Subaru Trail Seeker, the
Uh,
electric
yeah,
crossover that was released at the New York Auto Show. And Toyota figured, why not do a little cross pollination, continue the cross pollination? It's not a bad looking vehicle, frankly.
it's not bad looking.
Yeah, it is the all electric Woodland edition. This has up to 260 miles of manufacturer estimated all electric driving with DC fast charging. It is, of course, equipped with that North American charging system port and rear cargo area, generous, and an 8.3-inch ground clearance, panoramic view monitor, with multi-terrain monitor, and 3,500 pounds of towing capacity. So,
That's good because I would have to tow my trailer with the kayak on it.
that's right.
It's,
That's right. There's a whole genre of trailers that are designed to be towed by electric vehicles. They've made them very
I
light.
did not know that. Hmm.
Yes, they made them very light, and they talk about this is perfect for driving an electric vehicle. The camper portion itself is all electric with solar panels. Who knows? You can maybe even charge your car with the solar panels on the roof of the
Oh,
camper.
and that you bring up something that I was going to ask you about. I there's a Rec V recreational vehicle store down right off 95 here below DC,
Mm-hmm.
and the lot is filled with those kind of retro teardrop shape mini
Yep.
trailers.
Yes.
That seems to be a very hot item.
Yeah, and for one reason, you can tow it with smaller cars. You can tow it with a small
Sure,
crossover. They're lighter. They're aerodynamic, and they fit in certain garages. If you have an extra
they're
garage, you
very
can put it
cute.
in. Yeah.
They're like the version of the Mini, except it's a trailer, and it's
Yes.
apparently, even small families like them because I don't know, you can spread out stuff once you open or
Yeah, you can put a tent room
pack
up
them up.
against it. You can.
Yeah. So I just, I am not a camper, so I haven't paid attention to this, but I know you've done a lot of that
Yeah.
sort of thing, and all of a sudden I'm seeing 50 of them lined
Y-
up
yes,
at
and
these dealerships.
many of them are even off-road versions, which have independent rear suspension or ride a little
Wow,
higher. So if you compare it with a Jeep, you can go overlanding. Um,
man.
I think, though, the appeal, certainly where you are, is if you have a two-car garage, you can put one of these in your garage, that teardrop
Yeah,
trailer,
yeah.
and hide it from public view,
That's
rather than having it
yeah.
sit on your front lawn. So,
Well, I just, there's something very appealing about it.
yeah, there.
I
I've
can't.
watched a number of it. It's sort of like a one big queen size bed inside with a little storage. Some of them have a TV. They don't. Some have a way of like your feet. So you're not. You can get your knees down, your feet down below. Um, you kind of crawl into them on two doors side. So it's like a mobile bed that has heat in it, air conditioning. Some of them have air
Oh,
conditioning.
cool.
They're pretty simple, but it's a great place to sleep rather than sleeping in a tent. You have heat. There was one guy that does urban camping, so I watched him. He would go and stay at parking lots and things like that. And he had his dog with him, and
Hmm.
some of them have a little kitchen in the back where you raise up the hatch, and there's a microwave or a two-burner induction range and a little sink. You have to go outside for that, but some people bring big tents, and so the thing becomes bigger because you can walk to the back and cover the kitchen with a
Hmm.
tent and have a room where you can sit that's a tent, and then you go in at night. It's a great little way to, you know, pull it with your Woodland BZ.
Absolutely.
Now, we're not done yet with Toyota, by the way. Uh, remember the CHR?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was kind of a odd crossover. We didn't quite know what to make of it. Well, it's back now, all electric for 2026. The CHR battery electric vehicle, 338 combined system horsepower, estimated all wheel range of 290 miles. Kind of a little hot rod crossover. You think of it with all that horsepower, all wheel drive. It's built on the ETNGA platform, coupe like SUV styling, DC
Looks
fast charging. It's kind of cool when you think about it, isn't it?
it sure looks like a hatchback.
It looks like a hatchback with all-wheel drive and 338 horsepower,
Yeah.
almost
That's
300 miles of range. What do you think, Toyota, with a big trio of electric vehicles?
I think they've hit the sweet spot for electric vehicles. I think it's going to appeal to they will appeal to a very broad audience.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we'll see. We'll know by the end of the year on their sales.
Yeah, yeah. It is designed as an expression of the fun to drive, exhilarating character of electric vehicles. That's
Well,
if you did not realize that, that is from a press release.
I had the feeling that was a press release. You remember when Toyota was considered kind of vanilla?
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Um, it comes in the SE and the XSE. The SE is the base model, but it has a lot of things in it. Heated front seats and steering wheel, fabric soft text trim seats with 8-way power driver seat. This is a small
Yeah,
vehicle that's well equipped. This is the base power lift gate, rain sensing wipers, an 11 kilowatt onboard AC charger.
yeah.
Um, really, really nice. Now, the XSE Adds 20-inch gunmetal finished wheels, 8-way power passenger seat, and panoramic view monitor, and a couple of other things. But that's not bad at all. Even the base model.
Not at all. We pricing to come, right?
Yeah, pricing to come. Yeah. So I like it. I think it could be a hit for them. This could be another hit for them, and it's a version of
I
the BZ,
yeah,
basically.
I
Yeah.
like it. It's nice looking.
Yeah. All right. So, also, I'll keep you on the Segway train here because let's talk about Toyota's Wave Maker Blue. Now, no, you were saying Toyota used to be like, it's kind of bland.
It was tremendously high quality, but very bland.
Right. Will run forever, but you won't get excited. Well, they seem to be trying to change this. This is a new color, all new for 2026. It's called Wave Maker, and it gets applied to the top TRD models, the very capable TRD models. It was developed at Toyota's Calty design team in California. And I'll read this because I just love reading press release type stuff. It tells a unique story
Yeah.
of artistic vision and relentless pursuit of innovation.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
those aren't your words, are they?
My words would be, and it makes it real easy to find your vehicle in a parking lot.
It does. It does. Mine's the blue one.
Mine is the Wavemaker Blue one. It's the 11th iteration of the bold and unique TRD Pro colors. For a long time, I thought TRD, there would always be like a bright orange type look.
Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
blue. It did
It
start in 2015 with Inferno, and immediately that was a big hit. It will be available on the 4Runner, Tacoma, Tundra, and Sequoia, and they expect them to start arriving in the fall. I mean, I'm a blue fan, but I mean,
I like the color. Actually, to me, the color, which is a gentle pastel uh friendly color, uh, belies the fact that when you look at this thing, it is a rugged,
super rugged.
hard-fisted performer.
Yeah.
So it's almost you know, a big contrast.
It's like a well-built cage fighter in a tailored suit.
Right, right. With a very attractive, uniform on.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think we'll post it up on our website
Yeah,
and our social media pages, Facebook and such, and let you think if this is something that is fits the image. I just think it's cool. And nobody will ever say I couldn't find your vehicle. So
that's right. And anybody in the know about performance SUVs and trucks knows that color means don't mess with it.
don't mess with it. Hey, here's an interesting story from Hertz. Hertz is bringing Jeeps into their fleet. They add the 2025 Jeep Wrangler to their fleet to get people experiencing the Jeep Wrangler 4xe, which is the hybrid, the extended range plug-in hybrid. And it will be available for rent starting this month in major cities across the country. Believe it or not, you know that the Jeeps do the Duck Jeep, the Jeep Duckling. They
Right.
hand each other rubber ducks. It's going to come with a rubber duck.
Of
Believe it or
course.
not. How long will that stay in the vehicle if you don't hot glue it to the dashboard? They're going to just be putting them in every time because people are going to think. And it will have, yes, the Duck Jeep Hertz version will have an exclusive Hertz Jeep rubber duck in their Jeep Wrangler. So there you have it. Good idea, I think, if you're going certain places that you might want to perhaps drive on the beach if you're allowed to or something like that. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you were heading into anywhere in the Rockies or even in the Adirondacks,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to fly into Albany and pick up a Jeep. Uh, this is a really good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of just any old fleet car,
Right.
and you get to experience. First of all, most people have never experienced a Jeep.
That's right. I do think rental, people look for something fun
Yeah,
and maybe it results in sales. I'm sure it does.
yeah. I mean, if you're driving up to Lake George, trust me, you want a Jeep.
Right.
If you're driving around Lake George and into the Adirondacks,
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, I think if I were doing that right now, I would rent the Jeep
Yeah. Yeah.
as long as it's air conditioned, Fred.
Well, I'm
I
sure it will be.
I'm
Yeah.
not taking the doors and the top off.
No, you don't want someone to rent it and say, I don't know what I did with the doors. I must have left them somewhere on the trip.
Well, go
You'll be,
find them.
you'll be buying some. Yes.
Yeah. Here's
Yeah.
the good news. We have a discount. The bad news is we only have two right doors.
Well, while we're off-roading, Les Jackson, we might as well continue the trend and talk about some of the new developments for the Hummer EV for 2026. It's getting a lot of new developments here for it for 2026. The all carbon fiber edition pickup and SUVs
Yep.
feature an exclusive Magnus Gray matte interior and Velocity Ember interior theme with colors selected to show movement and form. These are special editions that will include all standard features plus unique 22-inch carbon fiber black wheels, all-terrain tires, carbon fiber inserts in the mirror caps and skid plate, and black approach shield, black emblems, and black power tonneau cover pickups for the
Yeah.
pickup only, and 22-inch spare carbon fiber black wheel. What the heck does this thing cost? What do you think?
Uh, I I'm too afraid to guess. And I do like
22-inch carbon fiber black
uh,
wheels.
I will admit, even though I'm not a big Hummer guy, I do like the interior of this thing.
I do too. Um, I'm not a fan of the Hummer styling per se, and I'm sure the price is gargantuan. But for 2026, the Hummer EV will offer bi-directional charging
Yep.
capability for both vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to home. With vehicle to vehicle, the Hummer EV can transfer power to another compatible EV, and a vehicle to home capable 2026 Hummer EV can provide power to a home in a blackout when properly equipped. Uh, so this is interesting. The capability of this comes with
This
a 24 module Hummer EV 3X pickup, delivering 1,160 horsepower and 13,000 pound-feet of torque.
uh that's a lot.
Yeah, and also
Good
new.
grief.
Further optimization of Hummer's EV's damper tuning, resulting in improved overall ride quality. Ride quality is not a big thing in Hummer.
No. No. This, oh boy, I'm gonna search to see just how much this thing costs.
I would say 130. I would imagine.
I think at least that.
Mm-hmm. Um, so it comes with a 13-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system, Google built in, which I believe you and I talked about them eliminating Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I think Google built in is this much ballyhooed system, but you know, Volvo, I remember, had Google built in uh, probably 3 years ago. But anyway, hey, it's all good. It's all good. Um,
It's all good. Hmm.
so also new for 2026, two additional exterior paint colors: Coastal Dune and Auburn Matte, as well as two new interior themes: Granite Drift and Stealth Eclipse. So there you have it. They're going to be available. Production will begin later this year at GM's Factory Zero Assembly Center in Detroit and Hamtramck. And yeah, there you have it. Order yours today, Les.
Oh yeah. Well, I got to get one in TRD blue.
I don't.
Uh,
I guess if you pay enough, you could get that. I would imagine you could get that. But um, yeah, that's out there. While we're on expensive vehicles, why don't we talk about one that is a beautiful vehicle, and that is the Aston Martin DBX
Yes.
S. This is, of course, their crossover, and it is their flagship for the supercar of SUVs. Its power has been raised to 716 horsepower and 663 foot-pounds of torque. So basically, it's it's an Aston Martin crossover that has the horsepower of a Hellcat.
Correct. But it but you could drive this very authoritatively around the Le Mans racing circuit,
Yes. Yes.
or the Nürburgring,
Yes.
and I would be happy to do it if they'd loan me one.
Well, there's a couple of nice things to report here. The new carbon fiber roof lowers the center of gravity for even more dynamic handling. I love this. I love the fact that it doesn't come with a moonroof because I never liked having all
Me
that weight
too.
up
Me
there.
too.
Never use it. Um, Distinctive S interior styling with options in Alcantara and leather. And lightweight options offer a reduction of up to 47 kilograms over the continuing DBX 707. It is a beautiful machine. It is a beautiful in every way machine. It's the latest in the long line of S high performance Aston Martins that it dates back all the way to 1953's DB3S. Incredible. In-
Yes, I love them. Um, I always say if you ever have a chance to drive one, you should do it. It's unlike anything else. It's just such an incredible combination of really classy high-end materials inside and great performance and handling outside, without mussing your hair.
in a dignified sort of way.
Right,
It's in a
right. Yeah,
dignified sort of way.
in a
Yeah.
dignified,
Well,
uh, yeah.
let me ask this: if you were to buy an Aston Martin, would you go for the SUV version? I would still go for the classic GT.
Uh, no, I wouldn't because the sedan version really, uh, even though it's high performance and big wheels and low profile tires, they actually drive beautifully.
Yeah.
Quiet, smooth.
I also say, while these are not inexpensive, they're still rare, and I think you stand out in them. I really do. Without going like hit somebody over the head, ridiculous extravagance. But
Right.
they do make a statement and I think that would be a cool thing to have. And if you were very decently well off, affordable.
Uh, if you're decently well off, if you had an income of 500,000 a year or greater,
Yeah,
it's quite affordable.
yeah, yeah. Interesting stuff. Now, let's talk a little bit about some technology here, and this relates to Aston Martin. If you recall, we were talking about uh, GM not doing away with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and they
Right.
said they didn't want to let the other people like Apple or Google take over their cars. Well, what's interesting is Aston Martin is the first brand to launch Apple's in-car experience. It's called CarPlay Ultra.
Yeah.
And it does take over everything in your vehicle. It controls the dashboard. It shows the controls for the HVAC. It is basically taking over everything internally in the vehicle. Aston Martin likes it because they don't have to spend money to develop this. Um, and, Apple is certainly capable of developing this, but the question is who gets the data? Probably Apple. Uh,
Well, they're going to get the data anyway.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so they're integrating full screen maps and media in the instrument cluster. All the screens are basically driven by this Apple CarPlay Ultra. Um, and this is one thing Rivian has stepped away from this, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay because of this, and of course GM. Um, as we know, some of those manufacturers want to protect that data stream so they can make money off of it, which is the main reason for doing it. But what do you think? This is a trend where we'll see Apple and Google take over
I
the screens
I
in
think
cars?
I'm all for it,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to Google doing that. And the reason is Apple has a lot of high security,
Mm-hmm.
whereas not so great with Google. And so I would trust Apple enough with my information, and of course, for me on my smartphone, I don't keep banking data on it.
Okay.
I don't keep my entire life on it, but because I just, you know,
Well,
I don't need to.
I also think you think about someone like Nissan that's looking to save money in any way they can,
Yeah,
and if they can make money off of this, I would assume that there's a trade-off. We'll take the data and give you the operating system at a reduced cost.
right,
Then
right.
I would think that that might be that might be something that they would do to make some money, right? Or help them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Plus, I think I think Apple will do a very good job of integrating CarPlay, taking over your whole system.
yeah, and there are
Wh-
physical controls too. Let's not forget the trend still exists that uh, they want people want physical controls. They don't want all touchscreen. So um, problem came when a customer complained about an audible pop when turning the steering wheel at full lock. And when the dealer inspected it, he found that all nuts holding the lower control arms to the frame were loose.
mm, mm, mm.
So they tightened them up. They realigned the vehicle, and it was good to go. Um, Something happened here. I don't know whether someone walked away. The inspector walked away to get a sandwich or something. But three of them had this problem. I was watching a show. Uh, one of the guys from Hot Rod magazine, um, and he bought a used Roadrunner, and it looked great, like someone had done a lot of work. Turns out the guy, whoever built it, just hand tightened everything and never tightened bolts down, like just kind of roughed it together and didn't say I didn't tighten them down. And I think that's one of the most dangerous things you can do.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't torque it, tighten it enough that it's not going to, if you forget it, it's not going to fall off, you know?
Yeah, um, that is a bone of contention. That I mean, I have over the years restoring cars, I've left a few bolts, nuts loose by accident, but working with other people, as I do, I find, that they tend to leave a disproportionate number of fasteners loose.
Okay.
And, I constantly have to say, let's put it on the lift. Let's find out what's tight and what isn't
Right.
before this thing gets driven. Now, on in the factory floor, and you and I have been there, everything is barcoded.
Right.
And yeah, they have to have the reader read the barcode, which then says everything's been done. But apparently, it's possible for that not to get recorded.
Yeah. Well, if you remember in the old days, if they tighten something up, they would put like a paint mark on it, right? To
Right.
say, I've
Yeah,
torqued
they
this
did
up.
little yellow or black paint marks on everything.
Right. And true aficionados of making something factory correct, they will recreate those.
Right.
Uh,
Forgetting to tighten the bolts.
that that would be
Yeah.
bad. That would be bad. But yes, I always tell the story of I work with a guy who had a big block Nova, and he hand tightened the universal joints and then went to the
Uh,
drag strip and
oh,
at speed hit second gear, and the drive shaft came through the floor.
whew.
He was okay, but the it actually bubbled out the roof. He said it
That's
made like a
scary.
made like a like a it looked like a bubble on the roof. He said so. Uh,
Man.
yeah. So always tighten your bolts. Even if you don't torque them right away, tighten them enough that they're not going to fly
Yeah,
off.
there
Right.
there are reasons sometimes you don't tighten them all the way because you have to make some final adjustments. But
Adjustments and
but then don't stop.
yeah, don't say
Don't go to lunch and come back and do something else.
right. Right, because yeah, and go through it. I've done that, gone through it. You just like let's just go through and
Yep.
make sure everything's tight, and it's the best way to do it. It's the best way to do it. Um, hey, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about autonomous driving and some developments that came along, right?
That's right. I've been, of course, staying with this for years, and with the agencies involved with it. These are international agencies,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and I just gave a talk at the one of the local high tech, high achiever high schools.
Mm-hmm.
I had to wear a shirt that said "low achiever" on it, so they could.
You were escorted in and out of the
I
building.
yeah, um, so and they were really curious about it because they knew most of the students knew about autonomous vehicles and what it means, but they didn't know the history of it and why it exists in the first place.
Right.
And then where are we? And why not just get a Tesla? And I had to explain
Okay.
Tesla is level 3. It doesn't matter. So I had to explain all the levels.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
And
and that there
and
is no true
there is no production vehicle available to the public that is above level 3, which
mm,
is not autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get to level 5 for it to be completely autonomous. Everything we drive,
Mm-hmm.
forget about claims from the factories. Everything we drive uh, are level 3.
Right.
Smart cruise control, lane lane centering assist, all that stuff, which is wonderful. I use it all the time.
Right.
It's
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 a
level
great
level 3.
assistant. It's
Oh, it's
assistant.
terrific, and
It's not
blind spot.
a replacement.
It's wonderful, and everyone should use it. Frankly, you should use it.
Right.
But that's not level 5. Um, However, on the plus side, the Volvo, I was explaining to the students where we have been for the past 7 years, slowed down by COVID, of course.
Right.
Volvo still has a fleet of 100 autonomous cars, all the autonomous technology in them, driven by engineers,
Mm-hmm.
all over Europe, some here, some in Canada. They've been doing this now since 2016. And they decided during COVID that they would keep doing this up. They're going to keep developing it, but they have now successfully unveiled the first production ready. And Fred, this you'll love this because we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about it last week.
Mm-hmm.
First production ready autonomous truck,
Oh wow.
the Volvo VNL Autonomous. They introduced it actually a year ago as a test model. It's the long haul truck, has hardware and software from Aurora Innovation, which is who they work with, and it has AI
Mm-hmm.
in it, which really helps with autonomous driving, not to mention trucking.
Mm-hmm.
And they're testing the autonomous trucks in controlled environments, full-scale field trials with autonomous buses,
Wow.
which makes perfect sense, and working on establishing autonomous freight corridors in Europe.
Wow.
Okay, now they haven't given up with cars, but the reason that they're doing it with trucks and buses is because those are much more controlled.
Right.
The drivers, uh, everything about it, they're much more highly regulated. And for cars, we still need the two missing components of full autonomy, which are the GPS system around the world is only accurate to plus or minus 18 inches
Right.
on the face of the earth. Well, that's really impressive. But if you're driving along and the car needs to know precisely where it is, it can vary by 3 feet,
Wow.
which
Okay.
is way if you're if
Yeah,
you're
you could be
on
in
the
another
curb
lane.
lane,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you're in the or you're off over on the curb.
Right.
That's no good. So that's level 4. And we ain't there. But the GPS worldwide is being remapped. It's going to take till about 2029
Mm-hmm.
now, thanks to
Wow.
COVID.
Yep.
But when it is officially remapped, then this is hard to believe. The accuracy will be, I'm holding my fingers, plus or minus 1 centimeter.
Now, I remember when GPS came out,
Yeah,
it was limited, our accuracy was limited because they wanted that to be the military
that's
to be
right.
the
We're,
most
we're
accurate.
simply taking it from the military.
Yeah. And they had the most accurate. We were
Right.
probably, I think it was a number of yards, but it still, if
Yeah,
you're just
right.
trying to find where you're going, you get within a couple of yards, you'll see what you need to
Yeah.
do.
And then we perfected it down to plus or minus 18 inches. But now the military satellites, which strangely happen to also be the GPS satellites,
Mm-hmm.
um, which are fully capable of 1 centimeter. Actually, they're capable of tighter than that, but that's not for public consumption.
Yes.
Um, so once that's there, then the vehicle we're at level 4 because the vehicle knows exactly where it is,
Right.
and it's looking around it visually, uh, lidar, radar, uh, even infrared in some cases, and then the fifth level is vehicle to vehicle
Right.
communication, full time, 24-hour, and vehicle to X, which is vehicle to its surroundings.
That's still to
Um,
come, though, right? That there are some
that's
manufacturers that have vehicle to
right.
vehicle, but they'll only talk to their vehicles, which is great
Exactly.
if everyone's
Exactly.
driving their vehicle. Uh,
We need, yeah. So when is that going to happen? Well, if the wind is in the right direction
mm-hmm.
and the world doesn't fall apart, they're talking 5 to 7 years
So
before.
couldn't they build something like a easy pass that you put on
Exactly. It's
your
exactly uh,
windshield, like,
that's
and that's
exactly
it.
what they want to do
It's a
is a
transponder.
right, a transponder that can be read by everyone or read by every car.
Right.
So once all that occurs, and now we're talking, we can see it. We can see it coming. It's that close.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's full autonomy. All day, all night, all weather, all conditions,
Right.
where at least the sensors can still see.
Right.
Heavy rain, heavy snow. No, it's gonna tell you, well, I gotta put this in your hands for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You will not be able to let go of the steering wheel and read the paper
Right. Or sleep.
in the future. But now, why are we doing this? Because, and this is awful, but and boy, did I get a lot of suddenly a bunch of students lifted up in their desk chairs. Um, this country alone, since 1900, 125 years, we have killed with vehicles or by vehicles twice the number of Americans that have died in all wars, including the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
Twice the number is almost 3 million.
That's crazy. That's
So
huge.
this is intolerable, and it's happening around the world. Last year, worldwide, 1.19 million people killed. And then think about all the horribly injured people.
Right.
So because we we the safety agencies and the governments of all countries, we can't make people drive better.
I wish we
We
could.
can't. The Finns do the best job of it, but we can't. But we can't. And we can't make people not drink or not get angry or not get distracted or not get sick,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or 100 other things that the car won't do.
Right.
The automated systems never get tired.
No.
they're they're running all the time. And even more important than that is we humans have a reaction time of somewhere between 3/10 of a second and a half a second.
Right.
So a half a second, it's 60 miles an hour. You've moved 20 or 45 feet
Yeah, that's incredible.
before anything can happen.
Yes.
The sensors in your vehicles, the slowest sensor is the ABS sensor, and that updates itself 60 times a second.
I know. That's I
That
just wanted to say too, real life. I use lane keeping, especially like if it's a rainy night.
all the
You and I
time.
talked about this, and it's just the road. You can't see the lines. There's no lights. or it looks like you're
Right.
driving on water. You can't see it.
Exactly.
It can see it. Even
It can see it.
the ones that are
Um,
available now, and it really really helps because otherwise it's like I can't see any lanes. I'm just going to
that's
try
right.
to
I am
keep it
right
as
there
best I
with you.
can. Yeah.
Yeah. So because that's the slowest system, and all of these other sensors, the uh, lane helping, lane steering,
Keeping. Yeah.
the intelligent cruise control, distance, the blind spot, the backup camera, with all of those things are updating the CPU in the car 300 times a second.
Right.
So this stuff is not being developed, and world uh, agencies have been doing this now since the 80s, late 80s. They're not being developed as gadgets to make money. They're being developed to stop killing people.
Yeah.
And the decision was made long ago, and it's the right decision. Look, there is no way to stop this from all this carnage, unless you take most of the mundane driving out of people's hands.
Mm.
On the highways, not down their
Well,
residential streets.
I wanted to bring something up. California Highway Patrol, they are now trying to combat people cutting in and out of lanes rapidly, and
Yep,
that
yep,
has now been dubbed computer game driving. That's what they say is causing people to drive this way. They play computer games, and that's how they drive in the computer
yeah,
game because it
yeah.
obviously doesn't matter. Uh, and that's what they actually call it now. That rapid cutting across lanes, cutting between cars where there's no space. Uh, this is this is where they're getting it from. This is what
Well,
CHP says.
yeah, and so it's I hear it. Oh, actually, the students were the best ones because they asked the questions. They said, "Well, are you sure this isn't just the government's trying to?" No, it's not. Most of this development is private funding by
Also,
corporations.
it's business. You don't want to be in the business of my
Right.
car is great, except that if there's a bonehead driver, they'll kill somebody with it.
Yeah, and the biggest initial urger, if you will, of this technology was the World Health Organization.
Mm-hmm.
They said we're killing millions of people every year because of distraction.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, and by the way, I always make it clear when I talk to these people, I never use the word accident because it's not an accident, it's a crash.
yeah.
A
Well,
tree falls on your car, that's an accident.
I
But
also think I'd like to see better training, like the maybe something like the Finns do. Better. You got to take it seriously. You got to.
well, yes,
It's not a. How shall I put it? It's an activity driving. You have to be part of it. I happen to
exactly.
enjoy it. You happen to enjoy it, but it can't be something that I'm multitasking and doing something in that it's something that I'm
And
just doing in the background,
yep,
like drinking your cup of coffee while you type out an email. Uh, it has to be a primary focus because things happen
that's right.
quickly
And
and road
and
conditions change quickly and the video gamer style drivers come up and leave inches of space quickly. And by the way, that trend of cutting in and out, they have to put an end to that.
it's just it needs to be a serious violation, like a six point
I think
or
just
eight
shred their
point.
license, right? Have the cop come up with a battery powered
Yeah,
shredder
yeah.
and say, "Give me your license." Oh, I need to
Just
see your license and registration, and
well,
go. Shh.
here's where we are. Here's where we are. The first thing I did after I was introduced, and of course, the guy that introduced me gave the whole glamorous history. And I said, how do you do? Before we start going, can I get a show of hands? How many of you, of the 60 students,
Hmm.
how many of you have ever gotten a ticket? 60 students,
But for
60 hands.
something for speeding,
Uh,
or not just
yeah.
parking or something. Yeah.
And then, well, okay, that's okay. And I said, well, how many of you have been in a crash? And about two-thirds of them raised their hands.
All right.
They're high school seniors.
I remember in my high school class, people must have totaled 10. I was not in a big school. They must have totaled 10, 15 cars out of
Uh, yeah,
like 70 people in my
and
home.
it's distraction. It's poor training. Well, they don't have driver training really anymore in the school systems.
They don't?
Uh,
In other
no.
words, you don't. I mean, I took driver's ed. It was okay. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, it was okay, but they don't. Now you have to take, an outside course from one of those driver training schools.
okay.
And a lot of the parents are wealthy around here. Sure, they send their kids there, and the kids don't listen.
Hire a driver.
Right. I told them, well, you guys, um, y there's a secret to not getting in a crash.
Just
And the
paying
secret
attention.
is, you got to pay attention, and you can't allow yourself to get distracted. And the the secret there is proper training. And then I brought up the Finns. In Finland, the world's
Hmm.
greatest drivers, in Finland, you don't get a license until you've had 40 hours of classroom instruction about everything, how the suspension system works, how
Oh,
the
I'd like to
braking
go to that
system
anyway.
works, all of what the traffic signs mean,
Hmm.
and then 40 hours more of behind the wheel.
Do they teach you the Finnish flick?
Yes, they do. The Finnish flip, you are taught uh, oversteer, you actually experience it. You
Yes.
understeer, trailing throttle oversteer, threshold braking, weight transfer, radiusing turns.
Yes.
It's a racing course, except you're not.
Well, my other pet peeve, weight transfer. There's a hill we go down coming from where I live, and then you go up a hill, right? People, when they feel a little bit of a G, like a quarter of a G or whatever that would
Yep,
be, they immediately put their brakes on. It's like
exactly,
clockwork. It's like
exactly.
you're not going to like go off the hill or accelerate to 100 miles an hour. It's just gravity and how it works.
And gravity works. You cannot
Right.
outdrive the laws of physics.
But if you felt that, like if you ever
Yeah.
drove a skid car, or what do I do? I mean, I also think people don't have good hand and eye coordination. They don't
Well,
have that skill.
not yeah, they do on a computer screen, but they don't in real life because real life is three-dimensional.
Yeah.
The computer screen isn't. Um, and it was just very interesting. Lots and lots of questions at the end
Well, that's good.
about, well, how do I get to be a better driver? Where do I go to get taught that?
There's some
I
free
said,
courses. Ford has
take
them. There's
yeah,
there's a
Ford.
lots of
Search on it. Go to a racing school, not to learn to race, but just to learn what it's really what you lack in your skills
They
right
do have
now.
those courses to be a better driver. That it's not
Well, I
about
teach,
it's not
right, I
about
teach,
apexing turns in that.
no,
It's about. I mean, well, even things. Another pet peeve. There are uh, roads near me where there are highways. You have this kind of short entrance ramp because many roads were designed poorly
yeah.
with that, or the entrance ramp where their people are exiting while you're trying to enter. I don't know whoever thought that was a good idea.
I've always wondered,
It's not
how
not
did,
very efficient.
yeah.
And believe me, I'm telling you, roundabouts don't work here because no one gives an inch. They don't give an
Well, see,
inch.
that's just bad society.
If you're pulling out
Yeah.
and there's plenty of room, you're pulling out and someone's coming up the road, but there's plenty of room, they almost speed up. They will never lift off the throttle Like when
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
someone pulling out, even though I feel that I'll clear them, I just gently get out of the
Yeah.
throttle,
Same here. Just
take a
live.
little energy out of it, and that's it. They won't do that here because it's like a personal insult. You got ahead of me. You know what I mean? Or I let you go
Exactly.
ahead of me. And that's why four-way stops don't work. That's why roundabouts don't work. They don't work because no one will give an inch. Pet peeve number
Red lights.
347. Red
Yeah.
lights.
Red
School
lights
buses
don't
going through
work.
the red lights in front of me the other
Yeah.
day. I was like,
I
that's a
was
solid red.
I
That's
was stopped at a red light yesterday. My wife and I were going to the store, and in front of the high school, and
mm-hmm.
it's 2 o'clock, and a Cadillac SUV, which was behind me, tailgating, of course,
That's another big
because
problem.
I pulled to a stop. He just pulled right around me and ran the red light.
Yeah, I've had that where I'm
It-
waiting
Just
to pull
unbelievable.
out. I have my left turn signal on, and I'm watching traffic both ways. And all of a sudden, someone just comes right around. I'm about ready to go. Someone comes around my left hand side and pulls out in front of me. It's like, you know, that's crazy because I'm really watching traffic come
Yeah,
both ways. I'm not like looking for someone behind me to come because you think they look at your turn signal and say, he's turning left, so I shouldn't come up alongside of him and turn left. But they don't. The,
exactly.
the other thing is people staying in the right hand lane on a high speed road where they don't have to. You're trying to get on and they don't let
Yeah.
you on. You know, it's
Well,
it's
yes, but the
it's
students,
it's selfishness.
that it is selfishness, really. The students were very anxious to learn how to drive better,
Hmm.
um, and they, they were very really serious about learning the fundamentals
And were they
because
also all drivers? Because
all of them,
that's another trend people don't.
yeah.
They're like, I'll just take Ubers.
Well, around here they all have their, mom and dad buy them a 2-year-old car.
Yes. Well, let's move on to. I want to get to this IC cars study. Cars that
Yeah,
are driven the most and cars that are driven the least. So if you own one of these things and you drive it the least, okay. Like now, some might make sense, like a Corvette or something like that. You don't drive it a lot
right.
because there's sunny day car. But actually, the top 10 list, there are no Corvettes in it. This is from IC Cars. The least driven car from their study at 7,877 miles per year was the Ford F-150 Lightning. That's weird, right?
You paid a lot of money for that thing.
Yeah, and it's a truck. And number 9, the Mini Hardtop, only
That's
7,781.
really a surprise because I see minis everywhere.
All right. Uh,
Everywhere.
Another one, I guess I could kind of see this Ford Mustang, 7,142
Again, I see Mustangs
all the time.
everywhere, every day. That's both of those surprised me.
Another one that I would think you would drive a lot, Jeep Grand Cherokee plug-in hybrid, 7,039 miles a
Hmm,
year from the
hmm.
IC car study.
So this is just not their
Cars that are not
primary
driven
car?
that much. Yeah, mini convertible, only driven 6,929. Mazda MX-30 EV. Well, that was the one that had very, very, very low range. If you remember that, it survived for a year in the
Yeah.
U.S. 6,755. Mini hardtop EV at number 4. Mazda MX-5 Miata RF, driven very little,
Yep.
5,375. GMC Hummer EV, 5,205 miles. And the number one least
It's
driven
100
car,
grand.
Mazda MX-5 Miata, 5,073 miles.
Um,
That's the
I
like
was
I
t
tease. That's the one everyone likes that I'm not a fan of.
I'm not a fan either, but our old friend Vern Parker
Mm-hmm.
of the Washington Times, automotive journalist. He's retired now. I talked to him a couple months ago. He has an original Miata.
Mm-hmm.
How many miles do you think are on that car? He's owned it since new.
10,000.
Um, 10,500.
Wow. Wow. So,
That's 35, 34 years.
yeah. Well, our mutual friend that had a Corvette since new, a 91, and
Uh-huh.
he went to get a new insurance company for it, and the guy said, "Well, how many miles do you have on it?" And he said 6,000, and the guy said, "You're lying." And I said, "Get another
No,
insurance agent. If he hears Corvette, he should say like, oh, okay."
he's not lying. We know him. He is not lying.
Yeah. Um, he would often say, what happens if it rains and I'm out?" And then
Yeah.
I'd say, like, you turn on the headlights and the windshield wipers. So anyway,
I
but
I'm surprised though we didn't have a Corvette or a Ferrari.
yeah. Now
Um,
they did the flip of this, the most driven cars in a year, and
yeah.
and just like we talked about this vehicle at the beginning of the show, Kia Carnival gets driven 16,884 miles a year on
Okay,
average.
that's the family truckster.
Yep.
It's the hauler.
Same thing, number 9, GMC Yukon XL, big
Hmm.
SUV. Ford Expedition Max, 17,051.
That's a big thing.
Now, go figure this, the Mustang convertible, 17,660 miles.
No, that
Er-
makes sense.
Earlier, the
'Cause,
Mustang was in one that's not driven that much.
but I have not, honestly, I've not seen a Mustang convertible around here that wasn't driven by a woman.
Okay, they're the more of the four-cylinder.
So yeah, that's their only vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and they, like to put the top down and
Nissan
show off.
Armada, Chevy Suburban.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Chevy Suburban, they're around everywhere. Tahoes, everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Uh, Chevrolet Malibu. Um, and then some of these are no surprise. The top 3 are all Chryslers and they're all minivans. Pacifica Hybrid, 19,575. Chrysler Voyager, 19,948. And Chrysler Pacifica, 20,882.
That's a lot of. How many miles a year do you drive?
Ah, well, that's hard with the press vehicles. Um,
I've
not,
actually kept track over the years.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Uh,
Um, it's less than I always thought. I average between 9 and 10,000 miles a year.
yeah, that's below the average is what, 15,000? Something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah. So, well, there
but
you have it.
that's think about that though. You're driving 20,000 miles a year. In
Yeah.
5 years, you got 100,000 miles on this thing.
Yeah. Well, do a 3-year lease. Although you're probably
Yeah.
going to come
Oh
up
well,
against a mileage limit.
you
So,
sure will.
so interesting stuff. Well, I think we covered a lot here this week on Cruise Control. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road. Take care.
Bye.